whatever happens, I really enjoyed my time here. I was really happy I got traded here. I have no regrets about it. I think some people wonder, but I have zero regrets about my decision to.
That one launched down the right field line. Did he get enough? He did! Donovan hits a two-run homer.
The St. Louis Cardinals organization is standing on the edge of a moment that could redefine everything fans think they know about this franchise. What is happening right now in St. Louis is not normal off-season noise. This is not routine speculation. This is not agents floating rumors or fans overreacting on social media. This is something much bigger, something far more consequential. The kind of moment that separates eras. The kind of moment that determines whether a franchise spends the next decade chasing relevance or building something that lasts. Right now, the Cardinals are at the center of the baseball universe, and every front office in the league is watching closely. Phones are buzzing, text messages are flying, executives are quietly checking in, and behind closed doors, decisions are being debated that will shape the future of this organization long after the headlines fade. If you're a Cardinals fan, this is the kind of offseason that keeps you awake at night. Because what happens next could either be the bold reset this franchise desperately needs, or another painful reminder of opportunities missed. We've officially crossed into 2026, and the new year has brought zero clarity and maximum chaos. The Cardinals entered this offseason knowing change was inevitable, but few expected the dismantling to begin this quickly, this aggressively, and this publicly. The trades of Sonny Gray and Wilson Contreras to the Boston Red Sox were not just transactions. They were statements, loud ones, statements that told the rest of baseball that St. Louis is no longer clinging to the illusion of contention. Those moves shocked fans, but they also confirmed what many feared and others quietly accepted. The Cardinals are rebuilding. Not retooling, not reloading, rebuilding. And if Gray and Contreras were the opening acts, what comes next may be far more dramatic. Because now the spotlight is firmly fixed on two names that carry enormous weight inside this organization. Nolan Arenado and Brendan Donovan. These are not fringe players. These are not expendable depth pieces. These are core Cardinals. Players who define lineups, clubhouses, and identities. And now both are at the center of trade discussions that grow louder with every passing day. Let's start with Nolan Arenado because his situation is as emotional as it is complicated. For years, Arenado wasn't just a great player. He was baseball royalty at third base, a generational defender, a relentless competitor, a player who made the impossible look routine and the routine look effortless. When the Cardinals acquired him from Colorado, it felt like a franchise-altering moment. The kind of move that announces championship intent. And for a while, it worked. In 2022, Arenado looked like the player St. Louis believed it was getting. A dominant force, a true superstar. He posted a 151 OPS plus, delivered elite defense, and finished with nearly 8 wins above replacement. That season felt like the beginning of something special. It felt like the Cardinals had found their next legend. But baseball doesn't always follow the script. Since that peak, the decline has been undeniable and deeply uncomfortable to watch. Arenado's production has fallen every single season. His power has faded. His bat speed isn't what it once was. And most concerning of all, his body has started to betray him. Injuries limited him to just over 100 games last year. And for a player entering his mid-30s, that's not a small warning sign. That's a flashing red light. Last season, Arenado posted an OPS plus of 87. That's not just below his standards, that's below league average. His WAR dropped to 1.3. These aren't numbers you associate with a franchise cornerstone. These are numbers that force uncomfortable conversations. And the Cardinals have been having those conversations for a while now. This is the second straight offseason in which St. Louis has actively explored trading Nolan Arenado. That fact alone speaks volumes. You don't shop a future Hall of Famer twice unless you've reached a breaking point. The awkwardness has already set in. Last season felt like a farewell tour that never fully ended. The cap tipping, the long pauses, the sense that everyone knew the end was coming, even if nobody could say it out loud. Now the Cardinals find themselves stuck in a strange limbo. They want to move on. Arenado likely wants a fresh start. But the market hasn't exactly been enthusiastic. Teams see the age, They see the contract, they see the injuries, and they hesitate. That's what makes recent developments around the league so important. Because suddenly, openings are appearing. The Los Angeles Angels are one of them, and this is where the story takes a fascinating turn. For years, the Angels have been a cautionary tale, a franchise defined by wasted talent and catastrophic contracts. No deal represents that better than Anthony Rendon's. 7 years, $245 million, and almost nothing to show for it. Injuries destroyed his time in Anaheim. He barely played, barely produced, barely mattered. Now that chapter is finally ending. The Angels and Rendon have agreed to part ways, restructuring the final year of his contract. He won't play for them in 2026. That decision doesn't just close a door, it opens one. Because suddenly, the Angels have a massive hole at third base and a desperate need for stability. Enter Nolan Arenado. From a narrative standpoint, it almost feels too perfect. Arenado is a Southern California native, a return home, a chance to finish his career closer to family, a chance to reset in a new environment after years of frustration. He has a no-trade clause, but Los Angeles is exactly the kind of destination that could convince him to waive it. And from the Angels' perspective, even a diminished Arenado represents a massive upgrade over what they've endured. They aren't asking him to be MVP-level Arenado. They just need competence, leadership, defense, respectability. And there's reason to believe the Angels are serious about trying to win again. They've quietly added pitching depth. They've taken calculated risks on arms with upside. They still have Mike Trout. They have young players beginning to establish themselves. This isn't a teardown. It's a build. That matters. Because Arenado doesn't need a miracle. He just needs a reason to believe. The Arizona Diamondbacks are another team lurking in the background. If they miss out on top free agent options, Arenado becomes a logical pivot, a veteran presence, a stabilizer for a talented but volatile roster. And if Arizona were to reunite Arenado with Paul Goldschmidt, it would be one of the most poetic storylines in baseball. Two former Cardinals reunited in the desert, chasing one last meaningful run. But nothing moves until the biggest domino falls. Alex Bregman. Once again, his free agency timeline is clogging the entire third base market. Teams are waiting, front offices are frozen, everyone wants clarity before committing assets elsewhere. And until Bregman signs, Arenado remains stuck in purgatory. Cardinals fans are understandably exhausted by this cycle. Another year, another waiting game, another offseason dominated by uncertainty. But Arenado isn't the only name creating tension in St. Louis. Brendan Donovan's situation might be even more divisive. Donovan represents everything fans love about Cardinals baseball. Homegrown, versatile, professional, the kind of player who does the little things right and elevates the players around him. He's the connective tissue of a roster, the glue guy. So why would the Cardinals even consider trading him? The answer is simple and uncomfortable. Value. Donovan is highly coveted around the league. Teams see his versatility, his on-base skills, his affordability, and they're calling a lot. Seattle has been one of the most aggressive suitors. Their farm system is deep. Their pitching development is elite. And for a Cardinals organization desperate to restock talent, that's appealing. But Seattle doesn't want to move established big league arms. They're protecting their core. And St. Louis isn't willing to accept a prospect-only package unless the upside is overwhelming. That stalemate has defined negotiations so far. And to the credit of the Cardinals front office, they haven't blinked. There is no urgency to move Donovan. He isn't overpaid. He isn't blocking prospects. He isn't declining. If a team won't meet the price, St. Louis can walk away. That restraint matters. It signals discipline. It signals intent. Other teams are circling. Boston, San Francisco, Kansas City. Each represents a different type of return. Each offers different leverage. And that leverage is exactly why Donovan remains a Cardinal for now. This is not chaos without purpose. This is calculated discomfort. The Cardinals are stripping the roster down to its essentials and asking hard questions about every piece. Who fits the timeline? Who holds value now? Who helps the next great Cardinals team? These decisions aren't easy. They're painful. They involve saying goodbye to players fans have emotionally invested in, but they're also necessary. The franchise tried to delay this moment, tried to stay competitive while the foundation eroded. Now the bill is due. And how the Cardinals handle Arenado and Donovan will define whether this rebuild is shallow or sincere. One move could free salary and unlock prospect depth. Another could preserve leadership and culture during a transition. Every choice carries consequences. The baseball world senses it. That's why St. Louis is the center of attention right now. That's why rumors keep escalating. That's why silence feels louder than announcements. This offseason isn't just about trades, it's about identity. And before spring training arrives, the Cardinals are going to show us exactly who they intend to be. So buckle up, because this story is far from over.